council to order for November the 14th, 2019. Let's rise. We already did. Let's pray. Father, we do thank you for this day you've given us. We thank you for just these council members that are out today. We just pray that you be with us as we conduct the business of the village. And we just pray, Father, you watch and guide over us. And forgive us where we fail you. In your name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thanks, council, for coming. Mr. Gilpin, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Hallfield?
Here.
Ms. Ross?
Here.
Mr. Noble? Here. Ms. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Coogan? Here. Ms. Shepherd?
Here.
All right, thanks. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for our regular October meeting. Any corrections, amendments to those? Thoughts, questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept those as read, please.
I make a motion to accept the October 10th, 2019 meeting minutes as presented.
that. Thank you, Ms. Hollifield and Mr. Coogan. Would you call the roll, Mr. Gilpin?
Ms. Hallfield?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
All right, communications, Mr. Dodson?
We have none.
All right, I don't think there's going to be any public input. Administration and committee reports. Myself up first. We have the Mayor's Court report for the month of October 2019, a total revenue of $6,986 with $5,248 going to the village, $1,672 to the state, and $66 to the county. Also want to remind everybody that we have a Christmas tree lighting program coming up on December the 6th. That is our down-home Christmas weekend. We usually kick it off with that Christmas tree lighting at the Grant Memorial Building. It's really going to, the program will start at 6 with some singing from some couple of different groups, and hope to have the Christmas tree lighting right around like 6:20 to 6:30. And then I was telling Julia Brandstetter that we'd probably be down to the movie theater for a movie at the Midway sometime around 6:45, with the movie starting around 7, something like that. So I haven't heard back from her on that, but she had called me about having a movie there, so, and I have to decide what movie we're going to show. So that will be December the 6th. Also, as a reminder, our meeting next month will be at 5 o'clock. What's the date on that? The 12th?
12.
December 12th, our meeting will be at 5 o'clock. So get that on your agendas. And I think that's all I have. Yes, of course. Thank you. Next Thursday, actually all of November, is Adoption Awareness Month. And next Thursday, I'll be doing the Joy of Adoption program. They'll be doing that at the Living the Word Church. And every year I get to read this proclamation, and I thank Mr. Dotson for getting this together for us. And so I'll be reading this next Thursday there, but I want to read it here tonight. Whereas every child, regardless of physical, medical, or emotional challenge, age, or race, needs a place to call home, and whereas the family is the most important resource for providing children with the love, dignity, and opportunity needed to succeed, and whereas all children, regardless of age, need and deserve safe, loving, and permanent families that will help them grow into healthy, productive adults, and whereas across the United States, over 400,000 children in foster care, over 100,000 are waiting to be adopted by families who can provide them with safe, stable homes, and whereas in Ohio, on any given day, over 16,000 children are living in foster homes, with over 2,600 children awaiting adoption, of which over 1,000 of those are teenagers. And whereas in 2019, the Claremont County Children's Services will have 22 children adopted from their care by 15 families, with an additional 15 children in need of permanent home. And whereas in observing Adoption Awareness Month, we also recognize the valuable contributions of adoptive parents and adoption professionals who continually strive to improve the quality of life for the children they bring into their lives. And whereas adoption brings great joy to adoptive families and is a great gift to a child in the foster care system. And whereas foster children and siblings groups who were adopted last year now have permanent homes where they have a chance to grow and prosper in a nurturing environment of a loving family. And whereas we gather together as family and community and state, nation to celebrate and give thanks for our many blessings, it is the hope of the residents of the Village of Bethel that all children awaiting adoption will quickly be placed in permanent and loving family, and therefore it is fitting to support and promote the goals of Adoption Awareness Month during this special season of thanks. Now therefore, I, Alan Osmond, Mayor of the Village of Bethel, County of Claremont, State of Ohio, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2019 as Adoption Awareness Month in the Village of Bethel, and encourage all residents to express appreciation for adopted families who open their hearts and homes to children in need, to be aware of the many children in foster care still waiting to be adopted. And like I said, that'll be next Thursday at Living Word Church, and I think that program begins at 6 o'clock if you all would like to come. It's really a neat program to see. They have a candle lighting ceremony, and it always moves me to tears to see it, but it's a really neat program, and come to that next Thursday if you can. I think that's all I have for now. I think I get to read a lot in a little bit. So Travis?
His probation.
Oh! Yeah, last month I was supposed to get Chief Teague off of probation, and I forgot to do that. So we do that by motion. Okay, Mr. Bringer. Okay, so I need a motion to get Chief Teague off of probation.
I move we take Chief Teague off of probation.
Thank you, Ms. Hollyfield. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Actually, I heard Ms. Brown first. She started that.
I know, I was
She's quieter.
quick.
She was quiet. Is there any discussion about that?
Congratulations.
Concerns? All right, I'm trying.
Good job.
Mr. Gill, would you call the roll on that, please?
Ms. Hollifield.
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Noble.
Yes.
Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Coogan.
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd.
Yes.
All right, thanks. I tried to forget that again. All right, now, Mr. Dotson.
A couple of weeks ago, our Public Works crew came in at midnight and spent the night replacing the water meters for the most of the fast food restaurants and other businesses along that strip at the west edge of town. They replaced the water meter at Frisch's, Speedway, Wendy's, the library, and McDonald's. So they worked most of the night, but they were able to get them all replaced. You can see there what the change in meter size was from the original McDonald's meter to what the current McDonald's meter looks like. So there's a little bit more room in the meter bits now. But that meter actually has 20 million gallons that went through it. So I think that was probably the original McDonald's meter. So we're going to be taking that to the Historical Society. But that was they didn't run into any complications, and it was a long night for them, and they worked the next day. But it was something that we had to do at night so that it wouldn't affect all of the restaurants. CDBG Claremont for the Community Development Block Grant 2020 program. We'll have the first reading for that tonight, and as I stated in finance, that's going to be a bridge replacement there at South Ash Street next to the entrance to the park. And the CDBG project that we have in the works, which is the South Union Street Bridge, I believe the commissioners were supposed to approve the engineer who got the bid for that, so that is hopefully that was approved this week, and the engineering firm, which is Choice One, will begin the process of getting that ready to go out to bid. That is, next year will be the fourth year since that was awarded, which every fourth year we can apply without penalty, so hopefully we'll have a decent shot at getting that next grant for the bridge there at the park, or outside the park. We did get the Claremont County Parks grant, the $20,000 playground grant, which will assist in the purchase and installation of the playground equipment for Phase 2. I did get a call earlier today that equipment is ready to be delivered, so that will be coming within the next week, so I will be coordinating with the installers to see whether they're going to start on that immediately, and we'll begin taking the old equipment down. Leaf pickup has been going pretty well. We've had quite a bit of response. We've started getting calls about when they're going to come through and whether they need to notify us before they rake them into the ditch. But we've had quite a few that have done it. The used machine we purchased is quite capable of doing it. It's a beast. It really sucks it up down to the dirt. So it's probably bigger than we needed, as I've said before, but, at the price we got it for, it certainly serves the purpose.
Does that grind and compact it too, or?
It grinds, it doesn't compact, but it's such a big container that we could probably do the whole village in one
Wow.
swipe without
Wow.
emptying it, so. And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Next up is fiscal officer, Mr. Gilpin.
Just two comments about legislation. We have ordinance 1927, which is for amended appropriations. Finance reviewed this the other day. Just one line item needs to be increased, and it's to facilitate the installation cost of the new playground equipment. We are raising it $25,000, but as Mr. Dotson said, $20,000 of that will come back to us. With the way that park grant works is we have to spend the money, bill the county, and they reimburse us. I do have a copy of their purchase order already, so we're in their pipeline, so it'll be a quick reimbursement when the time comes. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was Resolution 1039, which is for 2020 payroll. This will be the second reading, but there'll be two changes on it between now and next month. Since we drafted this, we've lost two of our three utility clerks, and I believe one new one starting Monday, right, Travis, and one around the 1st of December
Hopefully, yes.
is the plan. So we'll have two replacement names on there before the third reading. So that's it.
Oh, I wanted to ask a question. So is the new playground going to go on the footprint of the old?
Yes.
It is. Okay, I didn't know that we were going to do that or
Yes.
not. Okay, thanks. All right, next up is our solicitor, Ms. Supinger.
Don't have anything to report, but I did want to comment on the new person that's coming in. Council needs to approve some of her benefits.
That's correct. And I think that'll probably come in the finance
Okay.
discussion.
Okay, so we'll just need a motion on that
Yes.
when we get there. Okay.
All right, Chief Teague.
For the month of October, we drove 3,030 miles. We made 71 traffic stops. 9 of those were in the school zone. We issued 15 speed citations, 2 driving under suspensions, 1 OVI, 18 miscellaneous, and 32 warnings. We answered 227 calls for service that resulted in 42 offense reports, 21 incident reports. We took 11 accidents for the month of October so far. Just to report for the year, we're at about 184. That is actually down from about the last 5 years. We traditionally run a little over 200 by the end of the year, so hopefully that trend continues. 10 of those were non-injuring. 1 was a serious injury EMS needed to respond to. Offense and incident reports, we took 4 disorders, 5 domestic abuse, 13 follow-ups, 14 suspicious persons vehicles, 5 thefts, answered 14 burglar alarm reports. We also assisted other agencies 120 times. 55 of those were outside, 6 were fire runs, and 59 were EMS runs. One real quick note on fire runs, we had a fire just outside our village yesterday at the corner of 133 and North Charity Street that resulted probably in the loss of a structure. It was a garage. We assisted fire and EMS and Claremont County Sheriff's Department was shutting the road down at 133 and Bethel Concord for about 6 hours yesterday. Just a reminder, it is fire season. If you have a chimney that burns wood, please make sure that's clean before you use it. That wasn't the cause for that particular fire, but the fire department did ask me to remind people for that. The big note from last month, we did a narcotics search warrant executed at 310 North Ash Street with the help of the Bethel Police Department, Bethel Tate EMS, Adult Parole Authority, and Claremont County SRT team. I want to give those guys really big props. We had ended up, the head count for that search warrant was 32 people. So we had more people on the perimeter and inside the house than was in that entire block probably whenever we executed that warrant. So I appreciate the Claremont County SRT team for doing that. We got amounts of narcotics out of that residence, which will eventually turn into a felony 3 trafficking in illegal narcotics and a felony 3 possession. Those narcotics were dropped off in Columbus today at the BCI Crime Lab. The only other thing I had worth mentioning, actually, I got 2 more things. 133 is going to be closed out by Macedonia starting on Monday for 3 days. ODOT was putting signs out today. I stopped and questioned them what was going on, and they said they had an emergency culvert repair. I believe that's supposed to start Monday and be done by close of business on Wednesday. They initially told me 5 days, but after reading their post on their Facebook page and everything, it's listed as 3 days. So just for everyone to know that. And upcoming, as we talked before, we have our annual Christmas parade that is on the 7th. The parade is going to start at 6 p.m. and the boot drive is going to be out in front of Frisch's between the hours of 9 and 3. And we discussed that with representatives from the Legion that were in attendance at our safety meeting and Parks and Village property meeting. That's all I had.
All right, thanks, Chief. Next up, Safety Committee Chair, Ms. Holyfield.
Safety met this past Tuesday on the 12th at 5:45 in council chambers, and Chief Teague has gone over pretty much everything I think that needs to be reported. Other than just some training that our officers went through, some TASER training. The LEADS audit is going to be on the 25th. And can you remind us what the LEADS audit is?
LEADS is the program that we get all of our social security numbers, date of birth, driver's license numbers, and all of that, and they're very protective on their data, of course, for breaches. So they're going to come and inspect us, make sure we have all of our things in place, all of our agreements signed between us and the county and the state, and also they're going to check our books and make sure all of our officers have their training and everything all up to date.
Okay, all right, and I think that was pretty much all we went over. Our next meeting is just going to be determined when we need it.
Okay, thanks. Did you have the TASER training?
It's coming up
Oh, I'm
next
sorry,
month.
the 24th.
Yes.
That's right.
Do you still need volunteers?
Absolutely. We'll
Oh,
take
that's
we'll
right.
take any volunteers. Anybody from council that would like to volunteer to take a 5-second ride?
Mr. Dawson will take my place.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Next up is Finance Committee Chair, Ms. Shepherd.
We met on November the 12th. We discussed what Mr. Gilpin has already talked about. We're getting ready to pay for the second round of the playground equipment. That will be addressed in ordinance 1927. We also discussed the expenditures for Burkfest. We are looking into possibly getting some sponsorships to help defray that cost. And we are bringing, we need to put before council the recommendation to hire a new full-time utility clerk. Do we do that now?
Sure.
Yes, so this clerk is coming from the county with 15 years of experience, and we're transferring her time with her. So she'll accrue vacation at that rate is the main reason I need council to approve this.
Is the rate higher than,
No, the rate is what it would be at 15 years here.
okay.
Which is, consequently, I wanted to say also, is when I went to work for the county, they took my time served on here as time and applied it to the county. I came in with 8.5 years service to the county from being on council and mayor. So it goes both ways there.
Right.
So we need a motion?
Yes, a motion to authorize the recognition of her 15 years of experience and allow that to be applied for her purposes of her vacation and for her salary.
So moved.
That's a good way to do that. Any discussion about it?
Do you want us-
One question.
We need a second.
Do we need, I'll second it.
You already did.
Are we going to modify our handbook? Do we need to modify our handbook? Because our handbook says continuous service to the village.
Well, that's why council's making this.
Okay, is that only for that one instance, or,
Correct.
okay, so in the future, anytime we need to deviate
Anytime
from
you deviate
that?
from the manual, then
Okay.
council needs to approve that.
Okay, that was my question.
But we don't necessarily have to change the manual. Okay.
And for anything out of the ordinary, I would rather take it to the council than just have it on the policy.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Copeland, call the roll, please.
Ms. Hallfield,
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
All right, thanks. Anything else, Ms. Shepherd?
Thank you.
Just our next meeting will be December the 4th at 5:30 in council chambers.
All right, thanks. Next up is Parks and Village Property Chair, Mr. Coogan.
Parks and Properties met at approximately 6:15 on the 12th of November. We discussed expanding the alcohol area in the park with signage versus the netting that we had. The Legion will be responsible for making up the signing. I've given them all the parameters on the signing, and they'll take care of all that. We discussed 3 dates for possible concerts, which has already been kind of knocked down by Mr. Whittington of Mount Orab. He does his approximately every 3 weeks, so one of those dates is going to be messed up. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and knock down one of those dates.
What, is it July, or?
Most likely the July date.
Maybe we have it on the third weekend that month or something, or? Yeah, okay.
And we can push a little flexibility in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind, for purposes of the Legion's temporary liquor permit, I think they have to be 30 days apart.
Oh,
Yeah, I wonder how they're doing it every 3 weeks. They must use different alcohol.
They must have a different
Vendor.
applicant, yeah.
Yeah, so we're either going to have to run in conjunction with them or something on the same weekend.
We can do one in September instead of, well,
Yeah.
that gets you into the fair week again.
Or maybe even start off a month earlier.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, which is another option.
Yeah, right.
So, anyways, back onto that, Mr. Whittington said he's going to give me a list of very good bands on top of that. So he says the headliners usually go for $700 and the openers start for $5. So to get good bands in here, I have to have 2 bands, and one has to be good, really good, and the other has to be semi-good. So anyways, to look at this a little bit more closely, I'm going to go to the Bethel Business Association on the 1st of the month and see if we can get some sponsorship from them to assist in defraying the cost on some of the entertainment, and have them post, or actually we can post the signs for them for, to let the public know, who's sponsoring this. Kind of push our hands out of it a little bit. We also talked about the playground, which has already been discussed a couple times, and that'll be done sometime next week, as Mr. Dotson stated. Also discussed the Phase 3 of the program being next year, possibly. Additionally, we discussed the architectural desires on the community center for expansion, possibly putting in our police officers in there and expanding out the community center for our public. And then we went into the subject of dog park. Our chief very graciously has been doing a little bit of homework and found us a property that is a good possible property. We're researching that through Mr. Dotson at this point, and we'll see what we can do with that and take it from there. Anyways, we discussed our next meeting as being on the 4th of December at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Mr. Coogan. Burke Trust, Ms. Ross.
I have nothing.
Okay. So now you guys will be having to have that first of the year meeting, where everybody needs to get together, so that'll be something you'll have to have on the horizon. In January or February for that, I think, so.
I think January meeting we'll have to nominate our new people, 'cause we have 2 people that are expiring.
Yeah, the mayor will have one appointment and council will
Council
have
will
one
have
appointment.
one.
Yeah, So that, yeah, that as well, so, yeah, you'll have a busy beginning of the season for the trust, so. Okay, thanks. Personnel Committee, Ms. Brown.
We met October 28th at 5 PM, and we discussed the employee that's getting ready to come from the county and the benefits to hiring somebody with experience versus somebody new to the role. Then we also discussed the option for a gym membership through Faith Chapel Gym, which will come up, I believe, during council, correct?
Yes, is that
Legislation?
legislation, or was that a motion?
I didn't
We-
get any feedback from,
Well, we have time to do that next month, so,
okay, you just let me know.
yeah,
I put together a draft.
yeah.
More to come on that, but, and then we also discussed the possibility of needing a handbook amendment at some time in the future that Chief will let us know when, and we'll have our next meeting. So until then, we'll just play it by ear.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right, thanks, Ms. Brown. Next up is our Communication Committee Chair, Mr. Noble.
We're meeting on the 19th of this month, so we're still in limbo from the last time we met, so I'll have more to report on that next council meeting.
Okay, thanks. And I was remiss to congratulate Mr. Noble on being elected mayor. So he'll be our new mayor for the next 4 years at least, maybe more. And then also Ms. Shepherd and Ms. Hollyfield for their re-election. And congratulations to all three of you.
Thank
for
you.
that. And for being willing to serve. I appreciate it. As a resident of the village, I do appreciate your service. So that brings us to call of members. Ms. Hollyfield, you're up.
Just reminding everybody and anyone listening to come out and support Down Home Christmas, to say Happy Thanksgiving to everyone here and whoever is listening. And I think that's it. I can ask this question later.
Okay. Ms. Ross?
Just briefly about the Down Home Christmas as well. I had the chance, along with Mr. Noble, to attend a couple of their last-minute planning meetings, and they've got a lot of really good things going on. I was really impressed at how much they do behind the scenes and throughout the year. So they've got a lot of good things. The craft show, the Bethel Animal Hospital up here is doing a lot of work. They have a new manager that seems to be really excited about the community and doing things in the community. They're doing the dog parade as well, and I think he's going to run the parade as well this year, possibly as
The lineup.
the lineup and stuff. So they seem very involved. Music Association is Breakfast with Santa again. So they've got, I was really impressed with that. They are still doing the raffle baskets at the Historical Society. You can either take in a canned food or a receipt from the business. So if you go to the business that day and make a purchase, either one will get you a ticket to put into the raffle basket. So they should have some really good items, but that's all.
All right, thanks. Mr. Noble?
Yeah, thank you. Piggyback on what Mr. Ross said, the first meeting we went to, I don't think that they knew how things were going to go. You know, I mean, it just kind of seemed like everything was kind of shook up a little bit, but it quickly got back on track. New light, you could see the light get in everyone's heart about it. And the second meeting, I mean, it was a full crowd of people at the table. And that wasn't at the first one, so I mean, everyone's getting pumped up for it, and it was pretty exciting to see it develop like that. So they're working really hard, and I hope this is our 17th, I think.
Wow.
Down Home Christmas, so we're coming up on the 20-year, you know, so we hate to lose that, you know, so. And then, maybe I haven't heard through any of the committee meetings or something, I might have missed it, but some of the reporting for some of the police things that's happened, you know, the fire and with the raid and everything that happened. What's the difference between talking about it on public record and adding that to the website for, you know, or to a page? You know what I mean? I mean, it's said on public record, so I don't see why it's not allowed to be on a Facebook page, because you just kind of push that stuff out there a little bit more. I know we've kind of talked about that and you know, bounced it around a lot, but I don't see the difference between it You know, if the comments are turned off and it's just a feed, you know, or something like that, I mean,
Well, we've never turned comments off on any of our Facebook posts to date. I don't know, we were discussing that option at one time. I think if we do that, we just do that. We can't switch back and forth,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I think it could be put on there, but there was people wanting it to be put on there as soon as it happened. And I think you have to be careful with such
Yeah, you
things.
can't do that, but once it gets to the point where you can report,
Yeah.
then maybe that would, you know, it's kind of like probably a topic with Communications Commission too, on how the other entities do things as far as,
Yeah,
Yeah,
my recommendation would
communicate.
be to come up with kind of a policy and, you know, I do have communities that post police activity on their Facebook pages. Typically, it's either a press release that's been prepared and is being shared on the Facebook, or sometimes it's a commendation that was made to an officer and that's for a particular incident that's
Our-
occurred and that's shared on Facebook.
Our Lexipol manual has a guide also on what can be posted and what should not be posted, so
Right.
that may be worth bringing to the committee and letting them review that policy.
Yeah.
We just don't have that active because we don't have access to a Facebook page right now, so that's not an active policy in our manual.
Well, I think you do have access to one, you just need to,
Yeah, it talks about the police, specifically the police department posting on a social media, what they should post, what they shouldn't post, and things like that. And it gives guidelines.
Yeah, but the police can give me information anytime to post.
like if you were to have a press release and give it to Mr. Dodson, he can post it, right?
And we encourage that.
so, you know, it's kind of like our monthly reports, you know, I mean, some of them stats could be on there. I mean, if it's something that we talk about in here, it's public anyway, I mean, just another avenue to try to touch someone else, you know, so, but, I think that's it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Brown?
Just want to say good job on the fire response, because I think that if anybody has looked on Facebook, you can see how devastating that fire loss was. And I know that there was multiple entities that helped us with that, so thank you for all that. And keep that family in your thoughts and prayers, because it's a total loss, I'd say. I also wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to whoever's listening, and remember that it's not always great for everybody. Not everybody has some place to go, so try to be neighborly and community oriented. Also, I wanted to say thank you for everybody who attended my cousin Linda Millman's funeral, the owner of Blue Haven. That was a loss to our little community who've grown up here. We've all had the luxury of the Blue Haven home cooking. And go to the down home Christmas and make sure that you are, you know, participating in all the events, because you can win prizes, you can see some shops maybe you haven't seen, or try some treats that maybe you didn't know were out there. And I agree as far as with what everybody else has said as far as the great job for everybody getting elected. I think there are two things that show people's character: how well they win and how well they lose. And I would say that our community shines for both of those. I don't think anybody who lost their race was nasty or abusive about it. And I think everybody won graciously, and that speaks a lot to people's character. So thanks for serving, and thanks for running, and don't forget to run again. That's all I got.
Well, like I said that night there at the Meet the Candidates, we have, looking at the group of people we had, I mean, we have a lot of good people that were up there, and not a whole lot of communities can say that, you know, because I think we're blessed here in our community to have good people that run township, village, and all, so we're blessed in that. All right, thanks. Mr. Coogan?
First, I want to congratulate Don and Lucy for winning their seats back, and to Mr. Jay Noble for winning the mayorship. Speaking of which, Mr. Noble, your seat's going to be open, and we're going to need to discuss what we're going to do with that. You know, as far as what we're going to offer, you know, whoever is interested in this or whatever, you know, and trying to fill the position.
So that seat will be officially vacated on January 1st.
Right.
And council will have 30 days to fill that position. Otherwise, mayor fills the position after 30 days.
How do we do that?
Can we entertain?
So how do you select the person, or how do you?
Like, do you advertise, or do we
So
just make
you can do,
suggestions?
I've seen it done a variety of different ways, and that really the process is up to you. You can advertise and have people submit resumes and interview them. You can, sometimes if there's an unsuccessful candidate or somebody who serves on a board that has interest in it, you kind of elevate them into the position. So it's really up to council to figure out what your process is going to be, and then, scheduling that out.
I've seen it done several different ways here. We interviewed people. I was interviewed once, and then I actually put a resume in the first time I was put on the board. So it's, like Emily said, it's however you guys want to do it.
Is it something like a letter of interest, or does it have to be a full-blown?
It can be whatever.
They can come in and to the regular January meeting and stand up and say their intent to want to be on council. And you guys could see them that night.
It can be as informal or as formal as you like.
Is it something that we have to wait till January 1st to even start entertaining or discussing?
Yeah, wait till he's done.
I don't think you do, because we already know the seat is going to be vacated. So I think you can start that process as early as you like.
Could we
It
put
can't
it
be
out?
emailed back and forth.
Right, you can't do that.
no.
Everything has to be done in public meetings. So you will want to, if you actually want to go through the interview process, you have to notice and schedule those, just like you would a special council meeting, unless you delegate that to less than a majority of council to do
So
that.
could they submit something to Travis, and then he could forward it to us, and then we could tell them if they're interested to come to the meeting in January?
So what I
and
would
we could
do,
pick?
what I would do on something like that is I would give a deadline for people to submit a letter of interest or whatever, to submit that to Travis. Once the deadline is passed, Travis can provide you with that information. And then you can either schedule an interview, or you can have them come to council, or however you want to handle it.
Could we have them post it to Facebook if we're going to go that route, so that people have that communication as well as whatever normally happens?
Have the village post it on Facebook?
Yeah, to say,
The
here's
vacancy.
the vacancy, here's the time frame you have to submit that you're interested
You can
in.
advertise it however you like.
Okay.
Well, just FYI.
I would go ahead and turn those comments off though before. you do
Yeah.
that. But you don't want people applying via comment on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's true. Or tarnishing somebody who they know applied.
Yeah, it could get,
Yeah.
very
What are you gonna say,
quickly.
Jay?
I just was saying FYI, there's been 3 people that's shown interest for it, and they came and have asked me about what's going on with it. And I didn't know the procedures, so I was like, but, since I got a little bit of an idea of it when we was here for finance, what, like Emily was saying, maybe do the resumes and stuff like that, so I told them that the council would be the ones selecting, so if they want to do a resume or whatever, then if they hand it to me, then I'll either email it to Travis or and let him disperse or whatever. If you guys have someone that's coming to you, I guess that would be fine to do it that way too, but,
I think there's 4. There was a guy who
There's
came to
another
a
one.
meeting,
okay.
that one meeting, and said that he wanted to serve.
I've had one.
But that's good. I
My
mean, you got
goodness.
4 people wanting to,
I don't
Maybe you have to have an
know.
arm wrestling contest or something.
yeah.
Well, and usually in the past, the person that has expressed interest is well-known in the community to most everyone. And
That's
so
why I
it's
just
not
like a
going
letter
to
of
be,
interest, not
it's not
necessarily
going to be,
resume.
it's
Yeah.
probably not
This
going to
is
be
who I am,
someone that
this is
we
why I wanna
don't
run.
know.
Yeah.
So I don't think the
But they
decision's
still have
going to
to
be very
qualify
difficult.
as
No, I don't think so either.
They have to
as
live-
someone that can vote or.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
They
and
have to be
they,
a resident,
for 1 year,
they have to have been a resident for a year.
18 years of age, voting age.
so we could post all that. If we chose to go the Facebook route, or however we advertised it, we could post all, here's what is required of you to even submit, so people aren't wasting their time.
Yeah.
If they're 17 and want to be on council.
What would be a good drop dead date?
Say by the end of the year.
I would say it would be better to replace him earlier than,
I say, the deadline is
So you don't have the ability to replace them until.
The deadline would be December 31st,
He
and
has
then
to be
Travis
gone
can give them
first.
to us, and then we could have them come to the meeting on whatever that
January.
Thursday is in January, and we would already have that information, and it's probably people that most of us know, and then we could make a decision at the council meeting, and then,
Otherwise, you're gonna need a special meeting.
or otherwise we're gonna need a special meeting.
Which that meeting's the 9th, so you're only gonna have 9 days to
I thought-
really,
And then informal interviews would be kind of that night.
yeah, I think so, at your council meeting.
Yeah.
I personally would like to do it that way.
They can stand up and,
I'm just gonna give a little speech or something.
Yeah.
Give them
Answer
3
some
minutes.
questions.
Yeah.
and-
3-minute timer.
Yeah.
And say, just, you got 3 minutes, just please introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Personally, that's how I would like to do it. I'd like to have,
And then
I'd like
we
to
do
go
by motion.
beforehand.
And then they would, yes.
And we would have to go into executive session, or I don't know if that's an executive session, but we would all have to have some type of discussion
You-
to be able to choose that
Yes, so
person.
you can go into executive session, or you can have that conversation.
Publicly.
right in front of them.
Publicly. It's up to you.
I would say probably
Okay.
executive session.
Most of the time, I've seen it in executive.
It's usually an
I was
executive.
gonna say, that's kind of awkward,
Yeah,
like
But it
staring.
would be
back at
awkward.
But it's
people
not
and being like-
required.
Like, okay, let's talk about this.
All right, good discussion. Mr. Coogan, are you done?
Sorry, Brian.
No,
Are we all done?
You interrupted. We interrupted you.
Yes.
What I would like to see also, if at all possible, a special town hall on the third Thursday of January for our new mayor to introduce himself and give out a plan for Bethel.
Well, he's gonna have the state of the village address
Yeah,
in
he's gonna do
January
that.
as well.
He's gonna do that
So you
at the
could-
council meeting.
Council is where he reads the state of the village address, but if you wanna do that as well, you
A
can-
question and answer session.
I got some questions for him, so that'd be fun.
Yeah. Oh, if he goes for the tasing, we could always show the
Show
video.
the video, that's right.
So, are you making that a question for council?
Yes.
Would they like to, council?
Sure.
Okay.
Say it
How's the-
again.
how does the
Do we need a
mayor feel
motion?
Yeah. How's the mayor like feel about that?
dog in a fight on this one.
So what
You
January,
don't get a vote unless
It
it's
will be the
a tie.
third Thursday of January.
It should be the 16th.
Okay.
Well, we'll just do a formal invitation to our Mr. Mayor-elect here that we would like for you to be at the town hall meeting that night and to answer questions from the public.
Do you have a tab?
So is council ready for that, 16th of January, have a town hall meeting?
I'm fine with
Good with
that.
that?
I'm not on the spot.
Where do we wanna have
Are you
that?
okay with that, Jay?
Do you wanna have it over there or here?
It is a town hall meeting, that means you all are sitting there with me.
Yeah, but they're gonna pick on you.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
So at the community center?
I'll confirm that that's available.
Yeah. All right, so tentatively it's set for over there on Thursday, the 16th of January, 2020. Anything else?
That will be it.
All right, thanks, Mr. Coogan.
We have a time.
7 o'clock is when we usually have those.
Yeah.
Good point. Ms. Shepherd?
I really don't have very much tonight. I just do want to remind people that cold weather has set in. I now work as a caregiver. Watch out for those elderly neighbors because they will go out and try to sweep off their sidewalks and slip and fall and other things. So just be mindful of your elderly neighbors and look in on them and see how they're doing.
All right, thanks, Ms. Shepherd. And that brings us to legislation. Here we go. Stay with me. Ordinance 1918 is an ordinance authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer money from the electric operating fund to the electric extension and replacement fund, repealing all conflicting ordinances. This stands as a third reading, and what is council's pleasure on this ordinance 1918?
I move we adopt ordinance 1918.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All right, thanks, Ms. Shepherd and Mr. Coogan. Any questions about this? Mr. Gilpin, call the roll, please.
Ms. Hallfield?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
And ordinance 1918 is adopted. Ordinance 1919 is an ordinance authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer money from the water revenue fund to the water extension and replacement fund, repealing all conflicting ordinances, and this stands as a third reading. Council?
I move we adopt ordinance 1919.
Thank you, Ms. Hollingfield. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
I heard Ms. Shepherd first. Any questions about this one?
Okay, it locked up on me. Who made the motion?
Ms. Hollingfield?
Okay, and second?
Ms. Shepherd?
Okay.
Any questions about ordinance 1919? If not, Mr. Gilpin, can you call the roll?
Ms. Hallfield?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, ordinance 1920 is an ordinance authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer money from the water revenue fund to the water infrastructure replacement fund, and this is a third reading as well. Council?
I move that we adopt ordinance 1920.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Mr. Coogan. Questions about ordinance 1920? Discussion? If not, Mr. Gilpin, would you call a roll, please?
Ms. Oliphant?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
All right, thank you. That brings us to ordinance 1921, an ordinance setting rent for the electric and water departments and repealing all conflicting ordinances, and this stands as a third reading. Council, what is your pleasure on ordinance 1921?
I move we adopt ordinance 1921.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Ms. Hollyfield and Mr. Coogan, is there any questions or concerns about ordinance 1921? Mr. Gilpin, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Oliphant?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Now, ordinance 1923 is an ordinance authorizing the retention of Keith C. Foreman as prosecutor to provide prosecutorial services for the Village of Bethel, Ohio. Stands the second reading. Ordinance 1924 is an ordinance confirming Joseph Candito as magistrate, and this stands as a second reading. Ordinance 1925 is an ordinance authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer money from the general fund to police operations fund, and this stands as a second reading. Ordinance 1926 is an ordinance establishing Fund 2909, a restricted fund within the village budget to be entitled Mayor's Court Fund, and that stands as a second reading. Ordinance 1927 is an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Bethel, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and I think we need to waive the three reading rule on this one.
I move we waive the three reading rule on ordinance 1927.
Thank you, Ms. Hollifield. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that one.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Could you call the roll, please, Mr. Gilpin?
Ms. Oliphant?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Now to adopt ordinance 1927, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we adopt ordinance 1927, or, I'm sorry, 1917.
It is
1927.
1927.
All right, I got 1917 at the top of it.
1927, is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Shepherd, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hollifield. Is there any questions about this ordinance? All right, Mr. Gilpin, call the roll, please.
Ms. Oliphant?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
All right, now ordinance 1928 is an ordinance establishing Fund 9978, a restricted fiduciary trust fund within the village budget to be entitled Burke Community Trust Fund. Does this have to be tonight, Mr. Gilpin?
No.
First reading? All right. Resolution 1039, a resolution establishing wages and salaries for village employees for 2020. That is a second reading, although you heard Mr. Gilpin say there will be some amendments to this as well. Resolution 1040 is a resolution requesting the Claremont County Auditor to advance taxes and assessments from the proceeds of tax levies pursuant to Section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code, and this stands the second reading. And Resolution 1041, a resolution authorizing the village administrator to submit applications for the Community Development Block Grant Funds, to accept the grant funds and to enter into any necessary contracts for the expenditure of the Community Development Block Grant Funds, and we need to waive the three reading rule on this.
No, this is first reading.
First reading, okay. Thank you. So that stands as a first reading for Resolution 1041. That then brings us to approval of expenses. I trust you guys have seen those. Any questions about them? If not, I'd entertain a motion, we accept them as read.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Noble. Mr. Gilpin, call the roll, please.
Ms. Oliphant?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
All right, I entertain a motion, we pay the bills.
I move we pay the bills.
Thank you, Ms. Hatfield. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Mr. Coogan. Call the roll, please, Mr. Gilpin.
Get it up here. Was Ms. Hollifield, Mr. Coogan, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Holifield?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Coogan?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes,
All right, thank you, good job, everyone. That brings us to adjournment. I'd entertain a motion, we adjourn.
so moved.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Is there a second? Mr. Coogan, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving.
Second, third.
Second, third, fourth.